Hi, I'm Elliot Trotter, and this is the warm-up. We are in Sky's beach studio in front of a live studio audience. Thank you. And I'm here to talk mixed and day 2 of competition with Maya Ziv, Sky's mixed correspondent. Maya, what do we have in store?
So I think the first thing to talk about will be the power pools. AMP was actually the only team to break up into the top 8, and so that'll be pretty exciting. They're going to be playing the Ghosts and Polar Bears, which is pretty interesting. They did have a great game against Dragon Thrust today, but I don't really see them beating either of those teams.
Okay.
So I think they have them there. The other one in that pool is District 5. I think District...
That gets interesting, because you have Polar Bears District 5 who were in the final last year.
Right, and so, to have a rematch of that at this stage of the competition is pretty interesting.
It's pretty whack.
Yeah. Kind of, yes.
A little whack.
I mean, District 5 wants to win this game. This is their revenge game. They have to win it to keep their momentum up. Polar Bears might come into it being confident. They've beaten this team before, but it's a new year. And, Polar Bears have shown some confidence in early games today and not really delivered as well as they'd like. So I hope that both teams really bring the focus and sort of put the past aside and just play their ultimate. I still put Polar Bears over D5 in this one.
And you see the Ghosts as walking through this, or are they susceptible to a loss too?
To playing District 5 and AMP, I think the Ghosts really proved that they've got the talent and they work very well together. And I don't really see either District 5 or AMP, who has had kind of shaky days today. I know Ghosts early lost to Seven Figures, who didn't do as well in the pool, but I think that was more due to early tournament jitters or not really getting their legs under them quite yet. And towards the end of the day, they definitely proved that they could pick that up. Okay. And so I think we'll see Ghosts over both District 5 and AMP.
Okay, and what's happening in the other power pool?
So there we have Wolverines, Blackbird, Chad Larson Experience, and Slow White, which just seems like so much talent in that pool. I mean, that's just going to be explosive games all over the board. I think Chad Larson Experience was unhappy with how they played today, and I think they're going to do a lot of reevaluating and come back and dominate. I see them beating both Wolverines and Blackbird. I think Wolverines and Blackbird might have tired themselves out a little bit today, mostly mentally. I think they had a lot of really intense matchups, and Chad Larson Experience, while having tough games physically, also showed that they could bring it back in close games and when they were down to win. And I think they don't want to be down anymore.
All right.
And so with Slow White kind of in the mix there, that could be interesting. They could, it's sort of uncertain with these teams. They didn't match up too much during the season, and I think it'll just be a really, really great day. I think I see probably Wolverines beating Slow White, and I think Blackbird might have a harder time with them. Okay. I think Wolverines is just slightly more athletic, but what put Blackbird above them today was just that they were much more cohesive, but I think Slow White has been training and been that cohesive all season. So we'll see how that shapes up.
Do you see anyone coming up from the lower pools and breaking into the championship bracket?
Yeah, I think AMP beating Dragon Thrust today is sort of interesting because that puts Dragon Thrust against Seven Figures and Saber Corp. I think Dragon Thrust might have a really good game against Seven Figures. They definitely don't want to be in those bottom pools. They want to prove themselves. Seven Figures too, though, is really determined to make a showing this year. So that's going to be a really, really great matchup. Just big athletes on both sides of that game. And I think if Dragon Thrust can really minimize those mistakes that they showed today, a lot of unforced turnovers, then they could have it. Seven Figures, on the other hand, didn't have as many unforced turnovers. It seemed like they weren't used to the wind as much. And so maybe if they get out, do a little bit extra throwing, bring the focus in a little bit, those turnovers will be minimized. Dragon Thrust just really needs to stay out of their head, play their game if they want to win that game.
Okay. There. Tell me, what do you think will be the most exciting games to watch?
On definitely Friday? that Chad Larson against either Wolverines or Blackbird is just going to be really, really fun to watch. I mean, that pool is just crazy with Chad Larson, Slow White, Wolverines, Blackbird. I mean, you've got such a mix of talent all across the board. Teams from across the whole country, and I think that any of those games really are going to be great to watch. That's where I'll be.
All right, well, Maya, thanks so much for sharing some info about Friday's competition. Maya Ziv, our mixed correspondent, and this has been Sky Magazine's Warm Up, brought to you by USA Ultimate.